And welcome to the BVarsity Live Scoreboard Show. I'm Zach, he's Trevor. We're both busy on our phones collecting scores and tweeting things out and doing all the things.
Letting you guys know that we're live.
Yeah, there you go. What a week 3 it was. I think we knew that we were in store for some surprises.
And we got them.
The big whoa score of the night, the game that we had live on Bakersfield.com. Central 38, Liberty 0. Did you ever see that coming?
None. And I knew that we talked about in preseason before, in August, September, over the summer, that Central had a team that looked like a junior college football program. But this was a team that went 5-6 last year. We didn't really know what they could do if they could put it all together. And
didn't have a quarterback that we knew of. And Trent Tompkins is the guy. As he's a sophomore, he takes a lot of risks, but he makes a lot of plays. And
Kyle Biggs, congratulations. You've got a program, my
if
friend.
you told me Central would win that game, I wouldn't have been stunned. But 38-0?
No, come on.
Now, I will say this, and we'll dwell on this game just for a minute. Liberty was hurt by a couple of things. It's not going to make up 38 points.
No.
Look, the better team won.
Yes.
But Curtis Brown had to play center because Wes Underwood had a concussion. Curtis Brown was okay at center. I didn't notice any huge problems other than early in the game, a lot of snaps were low, like on the ground low, and Bryson Faulkner had to pick them up off the ground. And then when they moved from a shotgun to under center situation, they had a lot of trouble with that QC exchange, and they lost a couple of fumbles. By that point, the game was already 24-0, probably didn't make a difference, but they did have some troubles. But the bigger thing with Curtis was he was unable to play every snap on defense. He was needing breathers here and there. I mean, that guy plays on punt coverage. He plays on kick coverage.
Well, and when he's not playing center, he's usually a fullback or a tight end in the offense.
So you lose that as well.
But that's sparingly. That's not every single snap on offense like center takes up. And the thing is that people forget that center is, it's a very mindful position. And so a lot of that probably took away from him on
mentally
defense.
Exhausting,
he's mentally exhausted from it. So, not to take anything away, Curtis Brown is legitimately one of the greatest athletes that we have in the Central section right now. But
you can only do so much.
You can't really only do so much.
If you ask him to do more and more and more, it's going to take away from somewhere else.
Yes.
I don't care who he is. The other thing was Isaiah Hill, who's a receiver, running back, backup quarterback, does a little bit of everything for that team.
Plays defense.
Yeah, he was out as well with a concussion. And when Bryson Faulkner struggled, and he did struggle, he was only 2 of 9 in the first half for 10 yards with an interception.
Yep.
You have nowhere to turn. They have a third-string guy in Justin Bustos, who eventually ended up coming in a mop-up situation. But it would have been interesting to see when it was 17-0, say it was still a ball game. Maybe Liberty throws Isaiah Hill out there and says, hey, kid, go make some plays, see what happens. They didn't have that option. So those things hurt Liberty. Having said that, look, Central took them to the woodshed in this game, and there's no mistaking that. Johnny Balderas had 1 catch for 2 yards in this game. Unbelievable. 1 carry for -5 yards. He was a non-factor. He was
Which is incredible because he's he steps up at some point in every other game that they've had since he
did
became
make a couple of plays on
last
D, but
year.
Nothing like you normally see from him. And so that was disappointing from a Liberty perspective. Jalen Johnson, the Central cornerback, who's the number 57 recruit in the class of 2017 by Rivals, he was as good as advertised, had an interception, blanketed Balderas all night. So that was part of it too. So anyway, post-mortem kind of Liberty, obviously not number 1 anymore. But hey, at this time last year, they were 1-2 on their way to 1-3.
They didn't even play this game last year.
So I don't know if they panic yet. I think the problem for them is Jordan Love.
I'm sorry, but if you didn't panic after an 8-turnover performance against Cathedral Catholic last year, I'm doubtful that they're going to panic after a loss like this.
Now, and see, to me, this loss was almost worse because they were dominated at the line of scrimmage. Against Cathedral Catholic, it was just silly mistakes. They did have 4 turnovers tonight, but they're a better team than this. The question is, I don't think their ceiling's as high as it was last year.
Well, no, there's no Quincy Jounty, there's no Jordan Love, there's no Matt Hubble, there's no Chris Barnes on this team. There is still Johnny Balderas and Curtis Brown and Luke Fringer and sophomore Sammy Stewart and Zach Griffin. There still are great players on this team. Daniel Viveros is a great sophomore. But maybe last year was here and they're here.
Yeah, they're a good team this year. Are they going to win their championship this year? I think they're going to need some breaks. They're going to have to get a lot better.
But you know what? It's September 9th, and we were wondering what was going on with Liberty last year. What happened to them? Well,
they could still get a lot better.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Let's go to the
game you were at, Garces and Tehachapi. Another rout.
Rams are back.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no more question. The Rams are back. The Rams did last week.
42-7 was the score, by the way.
42-7 over Tehachapi. It was completely they overmatched them. It was a thumping of Tehachapi. Tehachapi's a great program. They're just not to the caliber that Garces is right now. When you look at Garces last week, they didn't play without Chris Coleman, the senior transfer from West. They lost to Arroyo Grande 36-32. Chris Coleman comes in tonight, senior. Didn't even know anything about this rivalry, the Ogilvy Trophy and the 45th meeting between these two programs on all the story and history. Didn't even know about it until Monday. And he goes, wow, I want to put my stamp on it. I want to come back. I want to make amends for missing the game last week, for a dumb mistake. What does he do? Scores a first touchdown in the game and then picks off consecutive passes by Tehachapi late in the second quarter, the last one leading to a second running touchdown for Connor Bruce, and it was an absolute rout. Garces, absolutely. I mean, you saw them 2 weeks ago in the season opener. They've got so much speed, and I think they're taking that speed, and now they're kind of coming together as a team. Defense played great. They had 3 sacks against Tehachapi. The Warriors were never able to get anything going, and the Rams really did look like a cohesive unit on both sides of the ball. And, man, that's speed.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That matches up with anybody.
Well, and you get the speed of Scott Boyle, and you get the speed of Jason Robertson, you get the speed of Connor Bruce, but then you get that powering, lumbering running back in Isaiah Martin that actually he's a kind of a guy that's attracted to big hits, and he wants to be that rumbling running back, and he did it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we talked about it. Garces, in my eyes, a legitimate Division II section title contender. Also, I'm going to say it, they're a legitimate contender to win the Southwest Yosemite League. They're not quite as deep as some of those other teams. We saw Liberty very, very vulnerable. Of course, the other favorite would be Bakersfield High School.
Listen, I think we're going to find out everything about Bakersfield in 6 days.
Yeah, they play Chaminade next week. They haven't played a team as good as Garces yet. There's no way they have.
No,
Garces is better than neither of the teams the BHS has seen. So I think, Garces and Bakersfield could be the game that decides the SWYL this year. We'll see about Liberty. Let's roll through the scores real quick. Let's bring those slides up. We'll get to all of them. Real quick, the 2 games we did mention already. Central 38-0. Obviously, those rankings are going to change. Central going way up. Liberty falling pretty rapidly. The other one was 42-7, as we said. Garces over Tehachapi. Garces probably better than 19th in the section as well. And now moving on, here's the one you want to talk about, Ridgeview.
Dude.
They get Jamar Moya back. They beat Frontier 41-20. What do you have for me?
402 total yards of offense, 256 yards passing. That's just Jamar Moya. The dude can actually throw the football. I didn't know. I thought he was just a great wildcat option at the quarterback position. He goes 15-24 passing, 16 rushes, 146 yards, 5 total touchdowns. The dude missed last week because he got thrown out of the first quarter of the season opener, and he comes back, and it was like we're all kind of wondering, like, what is Jamar Moya's return to this team going to be? Incredible.
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder, had they had him for all of those 7 quarters he missed, maybe they're 3-0 right now instead of 1-2.
Do they beat Stockdale? I don't know. Stockdale looked pretty darn good.
Right.
Do they beat Liberty? Probably, because it was such a close game.
All they needed was one more drive, right? And you got to figure Jamar could give that to him. Now, again, look, the games are played on the field, and the results stand
as they be.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Right now, I think you look at Ridgeview again as a contender to defend its Division II title once again.
Now that Moya's back, BHS is rolling like they have with 97 points. How big is that game now?
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah, Bakersfield's got some fun games coming up.
Yep.
And guess who Ridgeview plays in 2 weeks? They have a bye next week. They play Central at home in 2 weeks. Central, by the way, next week plays Frontier.
Yeah.
Frontier has to go up to Central, so what a challenge for the Titans who, if they don't pull an upset
know what?
there, they'll
It's going to be one thing. Central could walk in and say, we own Bakersfield, or Frontier and Ridgeview can show something different, but obviously the Grizzlies showed it tonight. Let's run through
let's move along, and Centennial gets on the right side of the win column, 31-10 over Golden Valley. Kind of a ho-hum. Yeah,
268 yards passing for Will Alexander. Did throw 2 interceptions. Didn't have a touchdown passing, but the Golden Hawks finally got a win, and this was the Haskell Bowl.
This was it was a game for a while. It was 14-10 right before the half. Centennial scored to make it 21-10 and kind of put Golden Valley, put some distance between themselves and Golden Valley.
Yeah, much needed first win for Centennial after those 2 big blowout losses.
They've got a tough schedule coming up. Bullard and Clovis the next 2 weeks.
And the SWYL.
Can they get Cole Beatty back soon? That would be his hip injury.
Yeah, it sounds like he'll be back next week. But when you get a hip injury like that, and a guy and he does so many things with his hip as a shifty guy, you got to wonder.
Are you going to be 100%? We'll see. So Centennial gets on the win column. Stockdale still undefeated. 28-14. Trevor likes to say boom a lot, and the Mustangs go over to the coast and get a big win. They're 3-0.
No, that just kind of. I think that win right there kind of solidifies how good the Mustangs are now.
It was a key win for me because I did not think they were sharp last week, and obviously played better this week, winning that game. And going forward, now guess who they have next week? Clovis, who they beat Bullard tonight, 28-14, same score. And Clovis will probably be the number 1 team in the section coming to Stockdale next week in a battle of top 10 teams. Moving on, battle of undefeateds. All of the scoring in this game was in the first half, by the way. We thought it would be a shootout. In the first half, it was, and then nobody scored in the second half. But Highland beats Kennedy 28-12 to move to 3-0. Gabriel Johnson had an 80-yard touchdown run. He had 231 yards rushing.
On 8 carries.
Highland had 414 yards rushing as a team, so they ran all over Kennedy.
8. Do the math. That's nearly 40 yards per carry.
First non-league regular season loss for Dennis Moody at Kennedy, and Highland's 3-0, and I think they're right there with South.
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
SEYL
Mike
favorites.
Gutierrez, congratulations, sir. You've worked long and hard to get to this point with this Highland program. Congratulations. You guys are still undefeated, and we're September 9th. That's awesome.
Moving on. Bakersfield Christian, a big win at Mission Oak. Jeremiah Foster, you got the numbers on him, 11 catches, 221 yards. We've talked about him against, if you don't have a guy to cover him, he will just torch you.
That guy is legitimately a throwback to the 3-sport athlete. He's great in basketball. He's great as a high jumper, obviously the Central Section champion. And we're seeing it now. He's a fantastic wide receiver, too. So, I mean, when you're 6'5" and you're an athlete and you've got those abilities, and he's not a lumbering guy, he's got quick twitch.
Quick twitch muscles? Yeah.
Quick twitch muscles, and that guy is incredible.
Bakersfield Christian getting Tehachapi next week, and a pretty good one. Tehachapi still looking for its first win. Moving on, Cesar Chavez, 49-0 over West. West, boy, they're struggling right now, and Cesar Chavez is not a kind of team you want to face when you're struggling. Move along, Arroyo Grande, 45-13. Speaking of struggling, Independence is struggling. Arroyo Grande is not a team you want to face when you're struggling. They beat Garces last week. Independence not there where Garces is right now. Right. East shuts out Miramonte. Kind of going to sleepwalk their way through this one, it looks like.
Yeah, but you look at it.
But a win's a win.
The Blades are 3-0.
Yeah, they're 3-0.
The Blades are 3-0. Highlands 3-0. East Side football playing some great ball right now.
East High has only given up 25 points in 3 games now. That defense over there that David Finucci has is legitimate.
Yep.
And they're going to be a factor in the SYL race. I don't know that they're Ridgeview. I don't know that they're Tehachapi maybe, but the other teams in that league better look out for East.
Yeah.
Shafter beats Foothill. This was a good game for much of the night. Foothill, I believe, had a 21-20 lead in this game until Shafter scored a couple of times late. Nick Perez, 157 yards. Hugo Santana had 224 yards passing and 3 touchdowns for Foothill. But Alex Aguilar, the sophomore for Shafter, getting it done too. 167 through the air, 78 through the ground. He's like UPS. He does it on the ground. He does it through the air.
You know what?
Shafter's 2-1.
Gerald Perucci was not shy in saying that Alex Aguilar has the playmaking ability to be a guy that could put up numbers like Brandon Jones did for him at Bakersfield Christian. And the sophomore's kind of showing that to an extent right now, that he's a dual threat quarterback and a dual threat who has a good arm.
Right. And let's talk about Highland, by the way. They beat Kennedy, gave Kennedy its first loss. They've given Shafter their only loss. So Kennedy is 3-0 with 2 wins against teams who haven't lost to the other teams they played. So that's a pretty good sign in the early going for the Scots. Dramatic game of the night. North High, second straight week, they take a heartbreaking loss. Cesar Prieto, 10-yard touchdown run with 14 seconds left to lift Wasco. It was 17-7 North after 3 quarters. Look, it was a game that could have gone either way. We said it both times. North's a young team struggling to finish games at this point.
And Wasco doing what Wasco does, pounding the ball,
taking advantage,
winning games,
and running the ball with 14 seconds left when you're down by 3 points. Probably had a timeout left.
Am I mistaken in saying that Wasco has now tied their win total from last season?
I believe they were 2-8 last year, so they have equaled their win total from last year already. That score is wrong. It's South 41, Arvin 7. Apologies on that one, but it is South improving.
Yeah, South
to
is
2-1.
That's my bad.
Yeah. Next up, another dramatic win. Taft scored, 22
unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Robert Cozine came in the second half. This is a guy who missed last week's loss to Granite Hills because of a concussion, and then violated some team rules, didn't play the first half. It was Sefo Maui who led the scoring in the first quarter, but they were down 24-9 going to the fourth quarter, scored 22 unanswered. Cozine scored rushes of 7 and 70 yards, had 146 yards, I believe.
24 unanswered, in fact. 24 unanswered points. They were down 24-7 and win at 31-24. So Cozine had 164 yards.
Maui had,
and then Stefano Maui had 210 yards. So a ton of rushing yards for that Wildcats team.
And you know what? Good for you, George Falga, because that guy was sick as a dog this week. He could barely even talk on the phone.
Yeah, and I think you look at Taft. They had that rough trip to Porterville last week against Monache. Monache's a pretty good team. I think that was sort of the hiccup for Taft. They looked really good against Golden Valley. Obviously, the 6 quarters this year when Cozine has been available, Taft has been extremely good. The other 6 quarters, not so much. So he's key for them. But Taft looks like a contender in the South Sequoia League. Morro Bay beating Kern Valley 33-19. KVHS now 1-2. Barstow hammers Desert 49-13. The Scorpions first season in the Central Section, and they fall to 0-3. And Boron beats Cal City 28-12. The Boron Bobcats. Vasquez of Acton 27-14 over Rosemont as we roll through the High Desert League. First loss of the year for Rosemont. Rancho Verde 50-30 over Burros.
I mean, I think we both figured that it was going to be a high-scoring game, but that's incredible.
80 points on your over-under there. Mojave beats Orcutt 31-22. Good win for Mojave. And Fraser Mountain playing its first 8-man game. Well, the defense showed up. The defense played much better than they do in 11-man ball. But Valley Christian Academy playing at home, able to squeak out an 8-6 win over the Falcons.
Is that baseball?
It looks like the Falcons are going to get some 8-man wins, and that's good news.
Yep. So there
and
it is.
Tomorrow, Maricopa and Trinity Christian.
I'm just kind of looking at what the rankings are going to be, too. You have Clovis beating Bullard, number 2 versus number 6, 35-28. Buchanan, number 3 in our rankings, 56-30 win over Lemoore team that went to the Central Section Finals last year in D2. Clovis West beating Edison, correct? Yes.
You know what? I saw they were ahead. I never saw a final.
Sanger, a 55-13 win over Clovis East. Clovis North continues. They played a Sac Joaquin Section Power and Buhak Colony as a 56-28 win for Clovis North. And you look at other teams, San Joaquin Memorial. There's a team that's going to be interesting next week. San Joaquin Memorial beats Hanford West 49-19. High-flying offense. They're going to be at Garces in the Holy Bowl next week. That's going to be really interesting. You got to figure 2 teams that are going to be right there around number 10 in our rankings next week. So that's going to be another big game. Hanford continues to win 27-7 over Madera.
That's Hanford's first win.
That is. Chowchilla blanks. Look at this. Reedley Emanuel, a team that brought back almost everything last year, gets blanked by Chowchilla 28-0 this year.
And that is the last year's D4 champion beating last year's D5 champion. Chowchilla
Selma,
got a good team again.
Rounding out the top 25, Selma defeating Reedley 42-7.
Final thoughts on week 3, Trevor?
Ridgeview's back. Liberty's got some things to work on. Garces, San Joaquin Memorial is going to be fun next week. Jeremiah Foster's incredible. East Side football still undefeated with East and Highland. So we got a lot of good things going. And then Stockdale, the only 3-0 team in the SWIL. BHS, obviously 2-0 because they had a bye. They play. That's the thing that I'm kind of looking for as we're putting this week to bed and looking towards it. We got a Thursday game in town. We got a Thursday game against a top 15 ranked state team in West Hills Chaminade playing a BHS team that has outscored opponents 97-7 in their first 2 games. It's Thursday night. Is it 7:30 or 7? What are we doing here?
I'm not sure. What are you doing there? What is this, like the bunny hop?
It doesn't matter what I'm doing. But I'm thinking about that game. I mean, holy cow.
You're just excited.
I'm actually legitimately excited about this game at BC on Thursday night.
Week 4 is going to start early. That Thursday night game is a huge one at BC, Bakersfield High, and Chaminade. And then week 4...
I'm the thriller, Chris.
Week 4, Friday night, you've got Liberty Buchanan. Can Liberty rebound? Ridgeview takes the week off, but you've got Garces Memorial in that Holy Bowl, and you've got Stockdale Clovis in a battle of top 10.
Those are all in town.
Those are all in Bakersfield. So our live game next week, by the way, is either going to be Liberty Buchanan, or I think we go back to Garces and do the Holy Bowl with Memorial and
Have
Garces.
Fun with that. I'm going to Stockdale.
Either way,
Clovis.
we'll have a pretty darn good game for you live on Bakersfield.com next Friday night. Couple of housekeeping notes. We gave away more gift cards tonight. We gave away $150 in food tonight two $25 to Eureka.
I'm hungry.
And $100. Well, we'll take care of you in a minute. $100 to Muscle Grub. That one went to Caleb Sheridan. We're going to do that again throughout the season, so make sure you're tuning into that live broadcast. Even if you're out at a game, you can check it out on your phone. Bring your earbuds. Just try to listen for those keywords, and you can get the giveaways. Hey, we have live football on Bakersfield.com tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Bakersfield College and Chaffey College. And the Bakersfield Blaze. Congratulations to the Blaze. Keeping the franchise alive for another few days.
Let's keep this bad boy running.
Beat the San Jose Giants 5-3 tonight in Game 3 of a best-of-3 series. They move on to face the Visalia Rawhide.
Can we say it? Blazer on fire.
No, don't say that. Best of. I'm against cliches. As a matter of principle.
It's almost midnight.
Best of 5 series starts tomorrow night in Visalia. Sam Lynn will host games on Monday and, if necessary, Tuesday. And the winner of that series, Cal League Finals start Thursday, same night as BHS Chaminade, would be at Sam Lynn if the Blaze can beat Visalia and get into the Cal League Finals. So, for Trevor, producer out there is Chris McCullough. We appreciate you all, and we'll hit you up next week.
Bye, guys.